Well, first of all, I'm going to start off talking about this hat. Uh, and I have to mention something here. I was informed today over Facebook that Grandmaster Lawrence Day of the Black Dragon Fighting Society will be laid to rest. Um, and in the course of that, I would like to say he will be missed. Um, I didn't get to spend much time with the man, but I do have one kind of interesting story about him. Actually, it's more about his family. When I went down to Florida in 2010 for the Black Dragon Gathering down there, um, he I got lost. I didn't know my way around Florida the first time I was there for Walton Beach, and I had called his house, didn't get an answer. Before that, I'd called and I had actually spoken with his wife, and uh, well, I I decided, well, much like role-playing games and Dungeons and Dragons, when you get lost in a new town and don't know where to go, best to go to the bar, talk to people. So that's what I did, and I ended up bumping into Grandmaster Day's son, ironically, who happened to be playing that night. He's in a band, and I asked the bartender if he knew anything about it. I figured there'd be other people around there that had, been in the bars and talked to people and everything. And he wasn't sure. Um, Asked who I was putting it on. I mentioned Grandmaster Day's name. He's like, "Well, hold on a minute," and goes and talks to one of the band members. And the guy comes over and it's his son. When I was relaying the story to Grandmaster Day during one of our gatherings after the actual seminar, and Grandmaster Day just kind of chuckled and says, "Well, I guess that means you were meant to be here. You know, new guy in a new town, doesn't know where to go, no one knows what's going on, and just I happen to be to bump into his son. The one bar I go into, and there was other bars out there, happens to be the bar that his son was playing at, and he just kind of chuckled off and took it as it meant to be. And he was more concerned with me being able to find everything and me being situated than getting money or having somebody grovel at his feet and tell him how good he was. And it's really rare to find that. There's a whole issue with people of high rank in martial arts demanding respect. You know, Grandmaster Day was one of these people who didn't demand respect. You could look at him and tell. I mean, he just had this air about him, and he had the scars and the crooked nose and the stuff that I've seen out of old drunken street fighters. But yet here's a guy trained in kung fu, and I wish that my little events in my life wouldn't have kept me away to where I'd have got to know the man better. But that's okay. What this video is talking about is I want to try to bring some understanding to this whole gun control issue. I just had to put that in there about Grandmaster Day because with his passing, we're never going to get his knowledge and experience back. And with the events at Sandy Hook and these other shootings, we're never going to get the lives of the people that are lost back. There's nothing we can do. But I'm going to examine the Sandy Hook event. I'm going to put it through a filter, and we're going to break it down into human action, what's considered the action pyramid. And we're going to look at how and why these events occurred. And some of this does involve law. It is a combination of bad laws and irresponsibility. And we're going to get to that first. All right, your action pyramid is made up of three sides: ability, opportunity, and risk reward. The risk must always outweigh the reward. All right, we're going to start this off with ability. Oh, God, I have horrible hat hair. Anyway, all right, this part of the video is going to talk about ability. Now, we know the shooter had the ability because he had the gun. I'm not going to deny that. The A more important issue is that he had the gun because of his mother's irresponsibility in allowing him free access to it. If it was locked up in a gun safe, hell, even if she kept it under her bed or under her mattress where she was laying on top of it, and he would literally have to, you know, physically move her to get to it. Preventing him from having access to it was the key important issue here. Um, you know, Trigger locks and everything else are there to make it harder for somebody to get to it. If they want them, they can have them, they can take them. It doesn't matter if you're talking about civilians owning them, the military owning them, the police owning them. Uh, the Clyde of Bonnie and Clyde fame, I don't remember his last name, uh, he robbed a National Guard armory and took a 30 caliber light machine gun, which is what his favorite weapon for robbing banks and everything was. You know, the military owned the weapons and it was taken from them. So the issue isn't keeping guns out of the hands of people. The issue isn't keeping guns out of the hands of the wrong people, because criminals will always break the law to get what they want anyway. What you're trying to look at is preventing the ability to do harm. Now, if you noticed, he picked a grade school where people couldn't, which was a gun-free zone, and no one could match his firepower. The same is true of the Virginia Tech shooter, of most of these school shooters, the people who shot up the temple, the church shootings. All of these things occur where people cannot defend themselves because we have a bad law on the books that says this is a gun-free zone. It offers a false sense of security. The same day as the Sandy Hook shooting in China, where no one's allowed to own any firearms, a man killed 22 elementary school age children with a machete or a sword of some kind. Maybe it was a knife. I don't remember because I'm playing this off memory. But the ability to do harm is always there. It is not simply just looking at the ability. We also need to look at the opportunity that we give these criminals to do harm. Now, when you're looking at the opportunity to do harm, these people they do so. 90% of these attacks occur within gun-free zones. You know, why do you need a gun? Well, why not? That's the important issue. If you're armed and someone is threatening you with a weapon, you can threaten them back. Or better yet, you can end them. Uh, when you're looking at the opportunity, not just the reward, or not just the ability to do so. Okay, you have the ability. Ability doesn't mean anything without desire. But you have the desire and you have the ability. So then you go in and now you have the opportunity. The opportunity was presented because of gun-free zones, because of places where people were not able to defend themselves. And many times these laws don't affect just guns, but knives as well. Now, I'm not saying that students should carry guns in school, but it would not be unheard of. It would not be insane for a teacher to keep a pistol loaded and locked in her desk. Now, when I was in school, I've been behind a teacher's desk many times, and I know there are drawers with locks on them, and they can put a firearm in those drawers with a lock on them. It would make sense to do so. Uh, you know, I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina when I was younger. When I was in the 8th grade, I went to Randolph Middle School. And one of the things about this, one of the really interesting things about this, was that our school had an armed security guard. Now, she wasn't just a security guard, she was actually an off-duty police officer. She never talked to us. She was, go away, real mean. But all in all, she didn't want to talk to us and be friends with us because it was a distraction to her for looking at. We had gang activity in that school like you would not believe. We had Crips and Bloods and like 2 different Latino gangs and an Asian gang. And if you didn't belong to a gang, you basically were an open target by everybody because they knew you didn't have anyone to watch your back. And we had an armed security guard. walking the halls. We had to pass through metal detectors. Our classrooms were locked during class periods. When school ended, you had to open the door, put down the little kickstand doorstop to prevent the door from being shut. Now, it seems to me if you're talking about a school, any school for that matter, where you're talking about trying to protect the lives of your children, then those precautions would not be unheard of. The idea of having somebody armed to defend your school, and yes, I know the NRA has made this statement before, but they're looking at blocking the opportunity. Because having a gun and the ability to go into the school and do harm to children, having the ability to go into any one of these gun-free zones and do harm to people, doesn't mean anything if there is someone there who is armed and able to defend, thereby removing the opportunity. Because it's not just the ability that we should be afraid of, it's giving someone the opportunity. They always say you can't con an honest man. The reason why they say this is because you can't convince an honest man that you have some get-rich-quick scheme that'll work and give him money so he'll put up a little bit of money so you can go take it from him. But yet Ponzi schemes and con artists always work on that idea of, the opportunity for wealth and the ability to of doing that, which leads into our risk reward part of this video. This is the important thing to remember. You have to make sure that either the risk is far greater than the reward to prevent it from happening. And we'll get into that in a moment, because that is also key to preventing the opportunity. Like I said, think of this pyramid almost as a tripod. You take off any one of those legs on a tripod, and the whole thing collapses. Each one of these, whether it is ability, opportunity, or the risk-reward, relies on the others. Just like I pointed out with the ability relied on the opportunity. He had the ability in having the guns, but he didn't have the opportunity until a bad law establishing gun-free zones made it an open target. That means not just is your not just is your school an open target. Think about all the gun-free zones around you. Walmart, gun-free zone. Movie theater, gun-free zone. Well, some are, some aren't. Some of your favorite restaurants might be gun-free zones. Your schools, your churches, gun-free zones. Your VA hospitals. That's right. Yeah, think of that one, did you? Or your hospitals, period. Gun-free zones. Now, most hospitals have armed guards, and the VA hospital, the beautiful thing about that is they have what's called the VA police. Armed federal police officers in the hospital, because even though it's a gun-free zone, they're not going to let anything happen to their veterans, because let's face it, if you tell the veterans, we're going to put you in a defensive situation, a lot of them are just going to break the law anyway. So they have established police officers to protect them with guns. Think about that. Now, your VA, the people talking about how dare the IRA suggest putting armed police officers in our schools because that would make them like prisons. Yeah, that's Alex Jones propaganda. The reality of the matter is, I've been to the VA hospital. It's not like a prison. I've been to prison too, and it's not like a prison. Yes, there is an armed presence there, which can easily defend my life if somebody happens to walk in there and start shooting, because I'm not allowed to defend myself or be armed in a VA hospital. I mean, there's a bunch of guys sitting in an office in the back, behind desks, with another guy watching a computer monitor and all the closed-circuit TV cameras to make sure everything is fine. That's simple. I would love, and I'm not saying this because I wish any harm to any veterans or to the VA police or to any police officer for that matter, but I would love to see one of these nut jobs go and attack a police station, go and attack a VA hospital, go somewhere where there is an armed presence with guns able to put you down and do it. But they won't, because they're cowards. And the easiest way to stop a coward isn't to deny him the ability, it's to deny him the opportunity. You can't go in and kill innocent, defenseless people when there's people there who can defend them. I stand behind the IRA. I grew up in a school. I went to a school when I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina, where there was an armed police presence in our school. Now, granted, she was an off-duty police officer, so she had no authority as a police officer at the school in her security guard uniform. But she had a gun as an armed security guard. She was paid by the school. Think about it. A public school which allowed a armed security guard, which was paid by the school system to protect our children. And they weren't talking about active shooters, they were talking about gang members. Some of them using knives to, to do harm to other kids. You know, with the metal detectors and an armed police presence right there, a lot of the bullshit got cut out. A lot of the gang violence got cut out because you knew the moment you used a weapon, in most of those cases, whether it was an improvised weapon or an actual real weapon, you got brought down, you got handcuffed. If you tried to fight back, she probably would mace your ass and then turn around and not only are you sitting in the principal's office, but she's going to be on the radio talking to her cop buddies having a cop car coming up there to come grab you. Now, the cops in Charlotte are a lot different than the cops out here in Beckley. Out here in Beckley, they think they're fucking Rambo. Up there in Charlotte, where people will try to kill you, they're a little bit more lenient because they realize playing hard ass just makes you a target. But when they need to be a hard ass, they're a hard ass. The whole point is you need to remove the opportunity. Remove the cloak of people being defenseless. Prevent these gun-safe zones that make the law-abiding citizen an easy target for a victim to be victimized and have to depend on a police force that shows up after a crime, or put an armed police presence there. Remove the opportunity, and we become safer. We don't have to infringe on anyone's rights. Now, I'm aware in the earlier clip that I said the risk has to outweigh the reward. Well, for the action to happen, the reward has to outweigh the risk. But what I was thinking was, in order to prevent the action from happening, is that the risk has to outweigh the reward. Now, this is where it gets important because it's kind of a teeter-totter. See, if you can stop the ability, you can stop criminals from being criminals. You can stop an action from happening. If you can, this is why the U.S. doesn't want anyone else to have nuclear weapons, because if they don't have the ability to attack us with nuclear weapons, they're afraid of our nuclear weapons. And likewise, we want to prevent anyone the opportunity to gain nuclear weapons. All right, now the funny part to all this is when you get to the risk-reward aspect. And this is the only little teeter-totter on our little pyramid. This is the shaky leg. See, because if the reward outweighs the risk, think about it. If you have nothing in your life is utterly crap. And it doesn't matter if you live or die in your own eyes. You don't care. You're just tired. Robbing an armored car, getting $1 million, running away to Mexico, sounds like a good idea. Cowboys did all the time in the Westerns, right? Now, yes, you'll live out your life as a wanted man, but hey, you'll be a rich wanted man. Now, the really messed up part, the really screwed up part to all this, is the reward, the risk of losing your life, dying, going to jail, any of that. Well, you don't have anything else. Your life is shit. You'd rather be dead. You're getting to the point you'd almost rather be dead anyway. Why not throw in for the risk? The reward of living a glorious, either going down, swinging and being a headline, or stealing all this money and getting away, sounds great. Well, yeah. Except for, assuming when you rob the bank, you get $1 million. Most likely you might get 2,000 or 3,000, and then you're kind of hit. No. Now think about it. The risk versus the reward. No guts, no glory, that kind of thing. you know, looking at these shooters, the Virginia Tech shooter is deeply disturbed. Uh, and he wanted to die, but he wanted to take a bunch of people with him. The Sandy Hook shooter, no one really knows what's going on in his mind. There's been things said, conspiracy theories between MK Ultra like mind control experiments to he was just batshit crazy to he worshipped the devil. Uh, hey, cool. You know, either way, he I think he was afraid of being locked up, of being in the mental institution, of going to jail. Because when he went in there and he killed all those kids, he could have tried to get away. Instead, he just offed himself. Took as many innocent people with him as possible and offed himself. Committed suicide. So we don't have, the mother's dead. We can't punish her for her irresponsibility of letting him have the weapons. He's dead, so we can't punish him for the lives that he took. And attacking guns doesn't bring back these kids. It doesn't restore the lives of those who are lost. The same with, the Virginia Tech shooter. And at one point in time, wasn't there a guy with a bow and arrow who went on an active shooter type of a deranged attack, killing people at a church? It's not guns that's the problem. It's people. At a certain point in their lives, they say, hey, my life sucks. And the risk of death, or maybe the reward to them is death. And they just want to take as many people out with them as they can go. Be a headline. Have that glorious, let me die moment. I said this in the other clip. You want to go out in a blaze of glory? Go shoot up a police station. Go shoot up a VA hospital. Go attack people where there are people who will put you down. These gun-free zones make perfect killing fields for cowardice monsters who want to take as many innocent lives with them as they can before they go. But nobody can put up a fight. Now, if one of these guys walks into a police station, takes out 20, 30 people, and gets away clean, I might actually say we need an assault weapons ban. If one of these people walks into a police station and tries to take out 20, 30 people, most likely he's going to get dropped in the first 30 seconds. I will dare say 10. That's right, you heard me, 10 seconds. Because there's going to be at least one cop, most likely 5 or 10, who's smart enough to know we're going to go around out the back door, around the side, and come back in through the front door and catch this guy in between us. There's going to be a bunch of other ones shooting at him from the front. So he's going to need body armor and brains out the ass because it's not going to happen. He's not going to take a single innocent person, or he might. But I'll tell you what, he's going to get brought down quick. It'll be a 5 to 10 second firefight. And that's with every cop having handguns and assuming this guy's got body armor. If he don't have body armor, 1 to 3 seconds. He might shoot the receptionist. That's it. That's all. The reality of the matter comes down to, for some of these crazies out here, the reward is death. The reward is dying. The theater shooter, the Batman shooter, he made an interesting point in and of itself of the way he did. He walked in, killed a bunch of people, walked out, seen the cops, took off the body armor, threw down the guns, and said, I surrender. And the police came and took him in. Why? Because just like with Batman, Batman doesn't kill you. That was the point he wanted to prove. The good guys won't kill me. And I'll end up in prison. People are dead. But that's it. You know what? If a cop would have shot his ass, I know there would have been so much liberal backwash, blowback, calling him a monster and everything else. But the reality is, As much as I don't like cops, just the profession in and of itself, because they're trained liars and manipulators, the fact is, I would want to shake that man's hands. But we don't need to live in a society where, we have Judge Dredd type judge, jury, and executioners walking the streets with guns. But we also don't need to depend on a police force that's going to show up after a crime has already began. I know there's SWAT teams and everything else that deal with hostage situations and all this other stuff, but we aren't seeing people holding hostages trying to get political demands or money. We're seeing people killing innocent people for no reason. You know, this might disturb a lot of people, but I have quite a few friends who are Israeli and quite a few who are Jewish. There's a difference in the two. Israeli is a nationality. Jewish is a religion. And my Israeli friends tell me, teachers in schools have guns in Israel. Huh, okay. And, we have police officers on the street with assault rifles in Israel. Yeah, okay. And the reason we do this is because people set off car bombs. And they come out and try to do mass shootings and everything that you're seeing here in the U.S. And it got me thinking. This is one of the reasons that when I wrote the Anti-Terrorist Handbook, there's a free version on the internet. You can buy the actual full version on Amazon. It's published by Lulu. That you can look out and you can see that these are you can't depend on anyone to protect you but you. So it's not just having the guns, but having the training to go along with it. And, here's the thing about it. The Israeli teachers are safer because they have guns. We declare a war on drugs, a war on crime, a war on terrorism, and then we get mad when criminals start fighting back. We declared war. They're reacting as if it's war. And I don't want to sound cold or callous, but maybe we need to start treating this like a war. Maybe we don't need guns and bullets, but maybe we need to start trying to win hearts and minds. There's a very big difference between what soldiers are taught and what police are taught, and it's very scary because as a soldier, I was taught more along the lines of what a police officer should be taught about. Winning hearts and minds, and about convincing, civilians that we're the good guys. I don't want to see anything happen to any of these children. And you have to realize, these people are cowards. The ones who are offing themselves at the end, they want to die. But they want to take as many innocent lives with them as they can. So you have to make the risk worse than the reward. You want to die? Fine, we'll reward you for it. But you want to take innocent people with you? That's a risk we don't need to take.